this is why I am 100% not getting the coronavirus vaccine. In my experience of living on this farm now for 18 months and, studying, farming for the last, 3 or 4 years, I've learned that no matter how much we've tried to force nature into submission, we just can't do it. And whether you believe this virus came from animals or a lab or whatever, it's now a part of our world, it's a part of our environment. And I'm going to talk to you about this virus in terms of a weed. This here is a weed that we've struggled with. It's getting better on the farm over the last 18 months. But this is called woolly croton, it's called goat weed. The cows don't like it, nothing will eat it, not even a goat will eat it, that's why we call it goat weed. Most farmers around here, the way they deal with this is they spray something called 2-D-40, okay? And what that does is it goes on, sprays, and it kills this plant. And most people around here think, oh, that's a great way to do it, just go spray, it's gone, you don't have to worry about it again for, a year or two. And we'll say that 2-D-40 is, say, 95% effective. So you spray it, and 95% of this stuff is completely gone. What you fail to realize, though, is that there's 5% that's still around. There's 5% that's resistant to the 2-D-40. And what's going to happen is that 5% of chemical-resistant goat weed is going to breed with that other 5% of chemical-resistant goat weed. And then it's going to spread its seed all over the field. And the next thing you know, your fields are full of chemical-resistant goat weed. So what would be the conventional solution? Is to go get a stronger chemical. And then it repeats itself, another stronger chemical. It repeats itself, another stronger chemical. And that right there is an unsustainable solution. And we're starting to see it now in Monsanto GMO cornfields to where there's now Roundup resistant weeds. And farmers all around the country are having to hire help for people to go out there and chop down these weeds because the Roundup that they're spraying on it, the glyphosate, isn't killing them. And we're already starting to see it happen with these mutations, these different variants. People are now having to go back 6 months later and get their third shot. What would be the solution to get rid of this problem weed for good? Create an environment to where it doesn't like to live. And that's the exact same approach that I'm taking with this virus. My job is to put my body in the best position possible to where if and when I get it, I'm able to defeat it very quickly. And how am I doing that? I'm eating good, I'm out here exercising every single day, I'm breathing fresh air, I'm out in the sun, and taking a supplement or two to help boost my immune system. And I gotta tell you, so far so good. I haven't gotten it. I've barely worn a mask in the last year and a half, and we've been to baseball games, we've been to concerts, we go out constantly. I've been around people that have had it, in the same car with people that have had it, still don't have it. Now, could it just be luck that I haven't caught it? Maybe. Or it could be that my immune system is just so good that I'm able to fight it off real easy. But I think it's kind of a combination between my immune system being very good and me being exposed to it quite often. When I was little, I used to get ear infections all the time. Like my parents would constantly be taking me to the doctor, and next thing you know, I have an ear infection. It happened for a few years. One of the doctors said, hey, you know what you need to do? You need to let your son go get dirty. And that's what my parents did. They let me go outside, play, roll around the mud, come in full of pockets, full of roly-polies and everything. Get exposed to everything. And guess what? The ear infections went away. And for me, I believe that repeat exposure to this virus is a very good thing. Because being exposed to this thing in small doses here and there, guess what? My immune system is building up, and knowing how to fight it. My body's going, okay, here's a little dose there, here's a little dose there, here's a bigger dose, but you know what? Because I had those other little doses, back 3-4 months ago, I already know how to fight off this bigger dose. And some might say that's what the vaccine's doing. But my thinking is that if you take the vaccine, what you're doing is you're giving your immune system a crutch, and it's a crutch that you're going to lean on. And let's go back to the farm for a second. We run Longhorns. Most of our cows here are Longhorns. And their history is they came over on Christopher Columbus's second voyage. The settlers weren't able to contain them in, they got out, and they were wild. And they were mostly a wild cow that roamed everywhere from Mexico to Canada. Those first Longhorns had to fend for themselves. They didn't come with those 3 or 4 foot Longhorns that you see. They had to develop them. And why is that? Because they had wolves, they had bears, they have everything that you can think of chasing them, trying to eat them. And why is that? Because they had a choice of either adapt or die. So what did they do? They adapted. They grew the Longhorns to where they could fend off stuff. The Longhorns are actually attributed to 60% of the extinction of the Lobo wolf here in Texas. So they were able to adapt to fight off physical attacks. So these wild cows didn't have medicine being shoved down their throat. They weren't taken care of by anybody. The only thing that could take care of them was themselves. So they didn't have all the crutches that the domesticated cows had. They weren't given antibiotics, they weren't given wormers, they weren't given anything. If they got a parasite, they either fought it off or they died. If they got blackleg, they either fought it off or they died. If they got any kind of disease that, a cow can get, they either fought it off or they died. And the results of that 500 years later of them getting out Without question, you ask around the cattle industry, without question, the Longhorns are the most parasite resistant. They are the most disease resistant cow that there is. Why? Because they didn't have a crutch to lean on. And still to this day, I'm not giving them a crutch to lean on. Why? Because I want to maintain their resistance to all the nonsense that can be out here. And that's the same approach that I'm taking for myself. And when you just plainly look at the numbers for people in my age range, I'm 28 years old, I have zero, absolutely zero pre-existing condition. The only thing medically that I need is Tommy John surgery on my elbow here from pitching, and a surgery to fix my rotator cuff that I got because I didn't fix my elbow from pitching, so I had to adapt, and next thing you know, it hurt my rotator cuff. But for people in my age range, I have a 0.03% chance, a 0.03% chance of dying from this thing. And of that 0.03%, 95% to 98% of those people have some sort of pre-existing condition. And I have zero of that, so when you take all those numbers into account, I have a better chance of winning the lottery multiple times than I do of dying from this coronavirus. So for me, it doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense for me to get it. It makes absolutely zero sense for me to get it. If anything, I'm doing a disservice to myself by getting it, by giving my immune system a crutch that I have to lean on. Now, am I completely against the vaccine? I'm completely against the vaccine for me, but you know, look at my aunt. My aunt is 85 years old. She's still in good health, but does she have the same immune system that I do? No. Why? Because she's 85 years old. She decided to get the vaccine. I don't have a problem with that. Don't have a problem with that at all. What I do have a problem with is people telling me that I have to get it. You look around the country and there's certain states and there's certain cities that are requiring you to get a vaccine to go to a grocery store. There's employers telling their employees that they have to get a vaccine in order to work there. The Pentagon just released a mandate that all military personnel have to get the vaccine. Now, I'm not in the military, I've never been in the military, but I can tell you right now, that's a bunch of crap. And that mandate states that they could be up to dishonorably discharged, to where you're dishonorably discharged, for those of you who don't know, you can't own land and you can't vote, and there's a couple other things. And if you think about it, our soldiers, our military personnel, guess what? They should be in the best shape of anybody in the country. They should be in the absolute tip-top, professional athlete shape. So if they get the virus, the overwhelmingly vast majority, I mean like the 99.99999% of them, should be able to, beat it with no problem. But no, the government's saying is that if you don't get it, you know what? We're gonna punish you so much to where you could be dishonorably discharged. That's a bunch of crap. All those employers out there that are saying, oh, you get it or you're fired, that's a bunch of crap. And the reasons that they're doing it is just to show, oh, you know what, we can. Not because it works. Because if you still get the vaccine, guess what? You can still get the virus. And I understand that if you get the vaccine, it's showing that, oh, you know what, maybe the symptoms can be reduced a little bit. Fine, you know what, if people want to get it, they want to get it. But don't tell me that I have to get it. And all these people like Dr. Fauci and stuff are saying, oh, 100% of people should get this vaccine. That's irresponsible. Just in that thinking, that's 100% irresponsible. 100% of people shouldn't do anything. You look when any president gives their State of the Union address, you have all members of Congress, you have the Supreme Court, you have the vice president there, and almost all the president's cabinet. And why do I say almost? Because one person is kept out. One person is removed. They don't want all the government there just in case, something happens. They want one member of government to be outside protected. And that's the smart, responsible thing to do. They have a designated survivor. Now, do I think that there's something that's going to go horribly wrong? Probably not. Probably not. Do I think that there's going to be some sort of like Order 66 command?
Execute Order 66.
Probably not. But you can't be 100% sure. You have to ask yourself, what if? What if something actually goes wrong with it? And when you look at the companies that are producing the vaccines, you look at Moderna, they've never taken a vaccine to market before. You look at Pfizer, who's been fined $3.5 billion for all the nonsense that they pull. You look at Johnson & Johnson, who for years and years and years have been pumping their products like baby powder and deodorant full of aluminum that have now been linked to certain cancers. What's in this? What's in this? Because so far there's no, registered bad reactions or side effects or whatever. But like it said, with every action there's always a reaction. What is the reaction from this? And you know what? It could come out to be perfect. It could come out to be perfect. It's the best thing in the world. But the thing is that I've personally known people that have had vertigo right as soon as they had the vaccine. Next thing you know, a couple hours later, they get vertigo, which they've never had in their entire life. Okay, that's an issue. And I know people that have been put in the hospital because, a day after they got their vaccine, next thing you know, they're sick and like really, really sick. Do I think it's going to be a widespread thing? No, probably not. And some people might say, oh, you know what, it's FDA approved now, so you know what, it's safe to get, Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Do me a favor, next time you're home on a weekday, watch The Price is Right, okay? It's my grandma's favorite show, and it's a good show to watch. It's funny. Come on down, do the Plinko thing. But when the commercials come on, don't mute them. Watch them, because guess what? You'll see one of three things. One of it is some sort of retirement thing, blah, 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 okay? Older people are at home, watching it, okay, I get it. The second thing that you'll see is a ton of prescription medication commercials saying, oh, they can cure this, oh, they can cure that, oh, just take this little pill so you're running when, 3 weeks before you're on the couch about to die. And then the third commercial that you're gonna see is the lawyers that are trying to file a whole class action lawsuit against the drug companies that for their previously released drugs and all their side effects that came from them. When it comes to the medical system in this country, the emergency room, the emergency techs, they're the best in the world. If I get run over by a tractor, if I get in a car accident, if I get shot or whatever, I want to be in this country. Why? Because we have the best of the best. The people in the emergency room have a better shot of saving our lives in this country than any other in the world. But when you look at anything past that, the preventative side, it's terrible. It's awful. When you look at the world life expectancy list, Google it, you're going to find that we're not number 1, we're not number 2, we're not number 3, we're not even number 10. We're like number 50. We're below Cuba, where they shoot people. As a country, we're the number 1 spender on medications, on prescription medication. When you take the next 10 countries combined, we still spend more than them. We're always putting money into research and development. We're always spending billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on the next new drug. Then why is it that we're still so far down the world life expectancy list? We have a pill for everything. We have a pill, we have a vaccine, we have something for everything. And you look at Cuba, to where their medicine is going sana colita de rana, and they still live longer than us. That doesn't make any sense at all. You would think that if our FDA and our CDC and all these other government agencies were so good, that we'd be a lot higher on that list. There's so many other things that are FDA approved that are just so bad for you. I mean, just terribly, terribly bad for you. Chickens raised in confinement houses with 25,000 other chickens, yeah, those are FDA approved. Those are disgusting. You look at beef fed in a feedlot with manure up to their bellies. You look at pigs, look at pork, how it's produced, where sometimes the pigs can't even turn around. And you know what else is FDA approved? Glyphosate, Roundup, all that nonsense. Yeah, glyphosate and Roundup, which has been linked. You can see the guy won a huge lawsuit that was about to die because Roundup, it was shown that Roundup gave him lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He won this giant lawsuit, but it didn't do him any good because he died like 2 months later. But you know what? That's FDA approved. So no, I don't trust the FDA. I don't trust the CDC. I don't trust the USDA. I don't trust any government organization. You know what I trust for my health? Me and my immune system. And it is my job to put my immune system in position to do what it does best, and that's fight off everything else. It's my job to put my body in position to do what it does best. If you get a cut, your body's amazing. It'll heal itself on its own. But you have to take care of that body for your body to function properly. What you don't see talked about enough is on any kind of news organization or government entity is that most of the people that are having serious cases of this virus are fat. They're like really, really obese. So you know what the emphasis should be on? The emphasis should be on, hey, you know what? Let's get healthier. So why isn't there this push of let's get healthier, let's get healthier, let's get healthier? No, there's not. It's take a vaccine. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. We know what works. We know what works for thousands and thousands and thousands of years in our immune system, but we aren't doing it. It's not being pushed enough. Why? I don't know. I'll let you guys tell me that one. And I know that there's going to be people out there saying, oh, it's your social responsibility to get the vaccine so you don't pass it along to anybody else. And that, I have to tell you, is a bunch of crap, because if the vaccine actually worked, guess what? The people that have gotten the vaccine wouldn't have to worry about getting the virus. But guess what? It doesn't work like it's supposed to, and you can still get it. And there's going to be people out there saying, oh, you know what? You might have had it, but you might have been asymptomatic. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. You know why? That means that my body can fend it off and it not affect me at all. That's a great thing. But what it comes down to is you have to do what's best for you. You have to make a decision. Hey, I'm going to get it or I'm not going to get it. And for whatever reason why. I'm telling you reasons why I'm not going to get it. And I tell you right now, it better stay that way to where I have a choice on whether to get it or not. Because if the government does institute some sort of countrywide mandate, it's going to come down to you try and give me shot, you're going to get shot. And I actually believe that Second Amendment is the only reason why that there hasn't been a countrywide mandate yet. And that's why it's so important for that one to stay there. And same thing with this one right here, the First Amendment one, to where I can go and say, hey, I'm not getting it for this reason why. And I'll tell you this right now, this video here, it's probably not going to do well on YouTube. It's probably not. Why? Because YouTube and Google have an agenda. And their agenda is to push people to get the vaccine. So odds are this video is probably going to get shadow banned. And for those of you that don't know what that means, that means that this video is up, but it's not getting pushed out to anybody like it normally would. So this is a decision that I've made by using common sense, listening to doctors, because you know when you listen to any doctor talk about the vaccine, they always start it with, from what we know now. From what we know now, what about what we know in the future? You don't know that. On average, it takes 12 to 14 years for a vaccine to get approved by the FDA the normal way. This way, done in a few months. So yeah, no thank you. That's my decision, you have to make yours. I'll just tell you right now, my future kids, you're welcome for passing along genetics that, you know what, you don't have to worry about this.